for me, why I'm doing this series, what I've been doing lately is actually talking to people behind the scenes. So people who are really championing African content, who are getting it out there, who are changing the narrative, who are trying to get into the distribution pipeline, because I know it's not easy, especially trying to sell our story to the world. So what I've been doing is speaking to a different people who are behind the scenes, who are executive producers, directors, so people who are behind the scenes, basically. So if you're joining me, welcome. If you're on my IG for the first time, welcome. My name is Esther Alade. I am a presenter, I'm a host, and I'm so happy to have the lovely Auntie Yemisi here.
Thank you.
How we met was we just gravitated towards you, didn't we? Me and Diana, we were in Cannes for MidCom, for Mid-TV market.
2017.
Yeah, and it was beautiful weather. It was amazing. How did we actually meet? Did I meet you at the diversity?
Yeah, no, we met at the NFI Summit Day, and then later on we were at the party on the yacht.
Okay.
Yeah, but we met at the NFI Summit, the last day of the market.
The markets, yes.
Yeah.
And we just both Diana. I don't know if you remember Diana. Do you remember my
talk?
Yes,
I remember her very well.
So we just loved you from when we met you, and we were just inspired by you. We couldn't believe how old you were. We're like, what? So yeah, I'm really privileged to have you here, and for me also, I want to learn more about the industry, because I've just graduated, so I would like to have more insight as to how you're finding it and how we can make it better.
Yeah.
So let's start off with, you started off as a lawyer, and then tell us a bit about your work as a lawyer.
Actually, I was called to the bar some 30 years ago, but actually only worked really as a lawyer for like 2 years of my life. But even as a lawyer, you're always, I find that every aspect of your life, your law comes in handy. And from there to there, I draft some agreements. I help like my husband, my friends when I need to. But I only actually practiced for, as being a lawyer in Nigeria for like 2 years, because honestly, it's very hard work. It's frustrating. The system is slow. And I studied abroad, and everything I had learned, plus, it just was so different, And I had I was a single mom. I had 3 young girls to look after. And at that slow pace, I couldn't afford. So I quickly quit the law and started my hands in business.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then from there, you set up an NGO.
Yes.
For Nigerian Children Child Foundation, for Nigerian Child Foundation.
Yes.
And that was in 2010.
Yes. No, 2008 was when we started. Yeah. And so actually, it was through the NGO that the production bug bit, because, I was always trying to explain to people that these children on the streets, their stories are so diverse, their stories are so touching, and you realize how but by the grace of God goes some of us, And I felt that people just thought they were area boys, they were thugs, but I felt I knew these boys, I knew their stories, and I just thought, it's a different thing when you listen to the stories, it's another thing actually watch it, And my brother was doing something, a hobby of his, and I just told him to link me with Sheung, who was the director of what he was doing. And I called him in and I was like, look, I want to bring these children's stories to the fore. And I contacted Said Balogun, because a lot of them spoke in Yoruba, and I thought it would only be apt for it to be in Yoruba. And I contacted, and I loved watching Yoruba films.
Yeah.
We found them really entertaining, and that was all I watched at the time on DSTV. So I contacted Said Balogun and I spoke, but in the end, it didn't work out with Said Balogun. I ended up doing it with an actress called Ope Olusoya. But what it was we told the story of 4 boys, how they got onto the streets, and how they fared, depending on which help came to them, either good help or bad help. And then you find out, it's interesting because each boy acted a different story, not their own story, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But the boys acted as themselves, and it's very interesting because you see through that living on the streets for these young boys, it's exciting, it's fun, it's romantic. They can do what they want, but they're tools in the hands of armed robbers, prostitutes, and because when children get onto the street, they feel that they end up, they think they've done something wrong, and they end up seeking refuge with people who are in places that are hiding, and you find out that they tend to be tools in the hands of these people. So it was that story that I was trying to get out. And after that had been done, the advocacy of it, it was like, thereafter, years after that, I was in a police station trying to report my daughter's phone missing, and I just thought, in Nigeria, we don't gravitate. You don't go to the police to say your phone is missing. And I thought, people don't really know what the functions of the police really are, And I thought, well, it would be interesting. And I called Sheung back and I was like, look, let's do this. And, well, I never stopped after that. I loved it when I was producing. Whenever I'm producing, whenever I'm set, it starts from the script, whatever I'm going through at the time, everything goes. I'm all for what I'm doing. I can be on set all through the night. I can be on set all through the day. I'm not hungry. I'm not thirsty. I'm not worried. I'm not, it's just about getting it done. And I just thought, I've gotten to an age where I'd like to make money and enjoying what I do. When I'm on set, when I'm producing, when I'm in production, I'm waking up every morning very happy, So I thought.
So is that how Las Giddy's Cop started off?
Yeah, that's how Las Giddy Cop started off.
So did you get involved with the script stage as well? Did you write the script yourself and then, or you had the idea?
Actually, we did what we have now as Las Giddy Cops is the third go at it. We had the first go, which I just was not satisfied, and I scrapped it. We had the second one where we did a pilot. Again, I thought, no, I'm not putting my name to this. And then I got another group and we started all over again. I didn't write the script, but I was at the script meetings, at the casting, most of the shoots, Yeah. And eventually we stopped and we started again because I funded that myself. We didn't get sponsorship. And so, it was like, as we started going, because I was new as well, I was a novice, the production started getting more and more expensive. Things were coming, so we had to stop. But hey, at the end, we finished it eventually. But it took at least a year
to make. So how many episodes did you end up doing?
13 episodes of like
1 season.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there any way you would revisit that again?
Oh yes, we're doing it again. We're doing we're in the process of Las Giddy Cops 2 now, season 2, and we're in pre-production now as I speak to you, and that's what I wake up every morning excited about now.
Would you say there are lots of women in your space in terms of producing in Nigeria?
Producing or executively producing?
executively producing, because that's primarily what you do.
Yes, there's a lot of women in it, as in there are loads of women. In fact, I think in Nigeria now, I would think there are more of us women than men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and how do you find that space in general?
Well, generally, I think for now, everybody is doing their own thing. People tend to be very supportive, and I find that for me, it's interesting. You see some stuff you like, you see some stuff you don't really agree with, but I think we have a culture whereby you're very careful not to criticize, because this is Nigeria. If you criticize, it's not because it's bad, it's because you're pulling down. It's very difficult. So everybody sort of stays on their own lane, and we're all producing.
You're doing the best that you can, I guess. I think one criticism that most people might say is that at times stories are good, but the quality of production and at times acting is bad. Would you agree with that? Do you think we have a long way to go?
I don't know if we have a long way to go. But what I know is, you see, production is, if it's like anything else, if you want something good, you have to be prepared to spend the money. Actors and actresses often complain, even script writers often complain that you don't pay enough. But at the end of the day, I keep telling you, it's the laws of demand and supply. An executive producer is putting down money for something. I have in my mind what I want to produce. I have in my mind the quality I want it to be. I want the space. But up until now, even now, we're still limited. Where am I selling it to? Who's buying it? Multi-choice, Iroko TV, for online. Look at Last Giddy Cops, the 13 episodes we licensed to DSTV for something like $3,000 per episode. So for 13 episodes, that's $33,000. What is that? At that time, the dollar was like 160 to 1.
Yeah.
So that was nothing compared to how much it was made.
What was the terms? How many years did they have it for? And how many years exclusive?
For 2 years or 3 years. And then, but that they were the biggest spenders at the time. But so how much? What's the profit? How much am I supposed to pay the actors? How much am I supposed to pay the script writers? Do you understand? And then it's a crime series. You want to see action. You want to see drama. You want to see things which you need to pay for. But luckily now, we have the cinemas. People are making for those. I'm concentrating on series, but for series now luckily we have the Netflixes, we have the Primes, who are But even then, we need to. We won't get there until we have people who are able to pay for development. Who are able to sponsor for content, and that way, you can. But you see, I always tell a story of a documentary I watched about winemaking in South Africa, and how during the third times they used to just produce wine they drank. Okay. And then it was okay. That's the same way I feel that these films we produce in Nigeria, to me, a lot of them we're so satisfied with mediocrity. If it's not funny, if it's just need a bit of humor and everything, and it's like, oh wow, it's a big deal. But now with if you have but so once the apartheid was lifted, and not the apartheid was lifted, once the there was a lot of embargoes. Nobody could deal with South Africa at the time because of that. But once that was lifted and they could export their wines, then they saw that when it was going into the Western world, a lot of people were rejecting the wines because they didn't even know which wine would be for which meal. They didn't know. So once it went international and people started rejecting the wines and they had to come back to the table and regroup. And now South African wines are one of the most, wanted wines all over the world. They had to regroup. And I think it's the same thing with Nigerian productions. I believe that after a while, now that we're going to the world, we're getting more competitive. People are seeing, people are interested. Netflix has come to Nigeria, for example. More of them are coming. Fox. Once they start doing that, then they can start trusting our productions. Then they can start funding our productions. In that way, then we can really show what we're made. Because once we go international and see what we're comparing with, then, I'll tell you, for example, we were on the table thinking about Las Giddy Cups 2, and I saw Queen Sono. It's a Netflix production, but I'm thinking that is the yardstick I'm going by now. You know what I mean? Because now the world knows that can come out of Africa. That is the sort of yardstick they're going to be expecting out of Nigeria, so out of Africa. So we need to compete, because I'm not going to be doing all that just for a local market anymore. I want to go international as well. So I think with time, it'll get better. The better we get, I think will boost more confidence, and people will be able to put their money, because we're many. We have the numbers. Our numbers, and I'm not talking about numbers here. Our numbers in diaspora. Because I'll give you an example. With Las Giddy Cups, when it was on DSTV, even I never watched it because it was showing on a Saturday at 6:00 or something like that. But once we licensed it to Iroko TV, people started, writing into me, asking me, when are we going to have season 2? When are we doing this? And when I went to MIP, I had a lot of people come on to me talking about developing together and things like that. It was when it got onto Iroko, and it was the Nigerians in diaspora that, prompted the interest in Las Giddy Cups.
Okay. Let's take a little pause. For those who've just joined us, thank you guys for joining me. So I'm speaking to Mrs Yemisi Wada. She's executive producer of a new series coming out called Witches. She was also the executive producer for Las Giddy's Cup, which is what we're talking about. And currently the topic we're on right now is about rebranding or having a standard. She used an example of South Africa having to rebrand their wines and then sell it internationally in order for it to be recognized. And she feels that's what we need to do in terms of Nigerian content, to regroup, rebrand, higher standard. So I think I agree with you on that, because if finance is a problem, number one, so how can you then compete with the world where there's more money, there's more time, because money and time doesn't always go together, right? So what I hear constantly about Nigerian content is that you have less of a budget, so you've got to do it quickly. Yes. And a rush job doesn't necessarily equal quality.
Yes.
So how do we then match that?
You see, again, it's the money. Again, it's the sponsorship. Again, like anything else, it's proving what you can do with the tools with which you've been given. You see, we also have a problem in Nigeria in our production, in that it doesn't have to be very expensive. You know, the production whereby you only have 2 locations and the story is very interesting. It's the quality of the story, you know. Yeah. And so if you have a small budget, you can have what you can do is tailor your script such that you have fewer locations, fewer actors, and so it's cheaper. But you see, another problem that we have is that we need to learn to tell our own stories. I'll give you an example. You watch Narcos, programs like Narcos, you watch programs, it doesn't have, but we write our scripts. We're talking about we're writing stories that liken to Hollywood stories, whatever. First of all, you need to be able to envisage as an actor and as a director and as a producer. You need to be able to envisage that situation that you're writing about to bring it out into light, you know. So now you have these people, you have actors and actresses putting on accents that, you know,
doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't flow.
Don't you do it why don't we do things which are our own, telling our own stories, using our own local languages sometimes, you know what I mean, and realistic scenes. I mean, I'm so fed up of watching films, programs where, you know, a visitor comes in and they're having a dialogue with the gate man. And there's so much of that in our films and productions. I'm thinking, which boss of a home stands downstairs and has a conversation with his gate man? I mean, how realistic is that? And they think it's funny. And I find it so annoying because, you know, it's like, it's rubbish. Meanwhile, I digress there because it's a pet peeve of mine. Yeah. But we're talking about telling our own stories, using our own, I think that was the beauty with, that was what Genevieve was trying to bring out with Lionheart, you know, more realistic, down to earth. But I think we need to do more of that. I mean, now that I'm shooting Las Giddy Cops, you know, we're talking about, we're going to show, we want to showcase Lagos. We want you to see Lagos through the series. Even though you are in Canada, we want to focus Lagos in such a way that you feel that you've been to Lagos. You understand? For you to see all the different aspects of Lagos, not just Rocky Bridge. We want you to see Shomolu. We want you to see Makoko, as well as we want you to see the Eco Atlantic City. We want you to see where things are happening. We want you to see the fact that there's the Yoruba family life, there's the Igbo family life, there's the Hausa family life, there's the Efik family life, all in this Lagos. In fact, we even have to show that it's so cosmopolitan because there are other people in other countries that come to live in Nigeria. They're Ghanaians in Nigeria, you know, so we want to reflect that. So we're trying to do it that you see every aspect of us, you know. So that's the type of thing that I'm thinking. And interestingly, as we learn in that is what they're looking.
Yeah.
You know, at the content markets, that is what they're looking for. Yeah. You know. So why do you think people feel that the Western ideas work? Why do they keep selling that as opposed to be more authentic? Well, because it's like everything else, you know, we always think what the white man is doing is better, you know. Meanwhile, they're seeking our own originality, you know, our own cultures. They want to learn about our own cultures. They want to learn about our own originality, you know. So basically, that's what we need to learn, you know. Yeah. Now, I keep going on about living in bondage, and people think I know. I don't know them, but to me, it's the best film ever out of Nigeria because. And can I stop? Can I just stop 1 second? Anyone that's seen Living in Bondage, please leave a comment. Let me know because I would love for us to bring it to the UK. I'm trying to get hold of the producers because you and so many people have said consistently living in bondage. Living in bondage. I think the producers were behind Before 30. The series really? Before 30. I think they were the guys, one or two of the guys in the team were the guys behind Before 30. If anyone remembers the series Before 30. Some people here are saying they haven't seen Living in Bondage. Living in Bondage was at the cinemas over Christmas, and then due to popular demand, it was shown again in February. But guess what? I had to send a message to the producer. It's coming out on Netflix very soon. I knew it. So it's coming out on Netflix very soon. So wait on. Yeah. It's not online yet. It's going to come out on Netflix very soon. But it's absolutely brilliant. Another film, the second film, which used to be my favorite film, which did this, was Isoke. By Jadi Oshiberu. Okay, Isoke is with Jadi Oshiberu. Dakore.
Yeah. That's good.
Isoke was, like your romantic story, but again, it was so, it visited, it took us around Lagos. It talked about our cultures. It talked about what women go through at a certain age. It was so authentic for me. Isoke was, I've watched Isoke at least 10 times, and now it's on I think it's on Netflix as well, but it's on Amazon Prime for sure. So I think that is what it is. We should start learning stuff. And you see, for me, I'll give you an example. I watched a film once. I'm not going to tell you which one it was. Whereby you are making people act roles of situations that they've never seen before. So, for example, you're writing this script about this guy, and he's meant to be the son of. There's a believability problem with our stories because of this Western style we're copying. So, for example, I'm watching this film at the cinema, and there are two guys, they're buddies, they're supposed to be having a beer, and they open the fridge and they bring out a bottle of beer each, and the guy opens the bottle of beer and starts pouring it into a wine glass. And at that time, it switched off. Because, first of all, it wasn't even a big bottle of beer, it was a small bottle of beer. Normally, if that was being done in the West, they just take off the cork and they drink it from the bottle. You don't pour some lager in a little bottle into a glass in the first place. Talk less of a wine glass, And for me, little things like that, I'm OCD like that. Those little things niggle me so much that I didn't bother concentrating on the rest of the film. And I was, So
on that point, do you think... Hold on, you froze there. Hello?
Hi.
Okay, you're back. So with that would be, for me, continuity, or people who are doing the set. So do you think it's a case of people behind the scenes who are not doing their research properly to ensure...
I think I'll tell you the problem I have. The problem I have is that the directors that we have, we have certain actors. And I'm sorry to say this because I'm going to get attacked. I feel that some of our actors could push themselves more. There's some actors who I can understand that maybe the directors cannot tell them what to do because they're already great stars. So we have a great problem with that. We have a problem where I think there's some the directors, like Ekemi Adetiba is a director that produced her own, like King of Boys. So I can imagine that she can say, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. But most times when you employ a director, I don't think they've already been able to get some, not all. They need to be able to get it that this is my picture, because at the end of the day, the film says so and so person, the director's production. So you should know that is what you want. So you can't let the actors dictate to you. You need to take control. Funny enough, I watched an Insta live between what's his name? He's a music video director, and he was saying how he has had to say it's either this way or I'm walking, because you need to be able to take control. Find out that if you don't, like on the sets of Las Giddy Cops, I was on it sometimes, and when I see and I say no, stop, no, is this believable? I've done that. Same with witches. I'm like, hello, there has to be a believability about what you're selling, about what you're doing. And so I think that the directors need to take,
You think that the directors need to take
more of the directors that are employed need to take more control, and they can't let the actors lead them. They need to lead the actors, and the actors who need to know. Pardon?
Do you think that's a culture thing in Nigeria where people are scared to speak up at times, or?
Yeah, I don't know if it's if I don't necessarily know if it's a cultural thing, or in all this that I'm saying, it's all still new, believe it or not. It's all still new, because from the Nollywood that we came from, I mean, I'll give you an example. Yoruba films, I don't know about now, but I know that as of when I shot Olurolowomi, which is the film I shot for Haven, they didn't have scripts. So, for example, the director would call and say, I'd say, who's acting this role? She'll go, oh, I wanted this actress, but she wasn't available. I'll call somebody. So she'll call the person. Hello, we're shooting. Can you come? Say, where are you? Say, oh, we're in Suru. Live story. We're in Suru, Larry. Okay, come over. She says, okay, great, you're back. So you're the mother of this boy. His mother is dead, and you're the stepmother. So you're horrible to him. You're nasty to him. Shoot. And that's how. And all the time I'm thinking, what is happening? And that is basically how the older stars in Olurolomi, not the young boys, that was how they were led. There was no script. They weren't given scripts to learn and then come onto the set. So, I mean, so that obviously is how, so sometimes when you watch their films, you're thinking, but if that's the way, that's how. So with Nollywood, again, the old Nollywood, they have maybe 4 days to churn out some films, so it'll be like, come, act like this. So the actual role of a director, a producer, I think that is something that we're learning again. We're just learning now, now that we're doing more, now that we're dealing with external people. I think now we're realizing it. So I think it'll get better.
Yeah. So Sam Blankson, who's a DOP, he made a comment saying that a lot of actors are not trained actors. So I think you've kind of clarified that point, that yes, if a director is calling somebody to come on set, obviously that person is not necessarily a trained actor. So could that also be said for directors, that some directors are not trained directors?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, there might be anything. I mean, I'll tell you something, and also some directors, it's like everything else. You don't say, where are your qualifications? Where do you go to school? A lot of us go by reputation. Oh, this is a good director. This is a good director. And I also think that we need to know something. I found that a director for sight, as in for pictures, is different from a director. It should be different from a director that shows you how to act. You understand? So you may be good with seeing the pictures, how it should take form, but you may not necessarily be able to, you may not necessarily be. So perhaps there ought to be more than one director on a set, Perhaps that, maybe there should be one for this, one for that. But then I can imagine egos, clashing and stuff like that. But really, I still believe in all of this. I still believe that we're really still young at this thing. We're really still young.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We don't want to put a downer too much on the industry, because I think we're growing quite fast. But it's also important for people to take note that training is important. It's important in order for us to compete internationally. We want to compete, and we want that money to be paid for certain series and films. We need to get the standard up.
Yes, because for example, going back to Living in Bondage, the young guy that acted in it. The beauty about his acting for me was that he's a young actor. I haven't seen him in anything before Living in Bondage. I'm missing now. But you see, through the film, you could feel from your seat. his desire, his hunger. You could see his disappointment. You could see his, he was the best actor for me on that whole thing.
What's his name?
And he was
was he the lead?
I forgot. Yes, he's the lead.
Okay.
Not Ramsey Noah, but the young guy.
Okay.
But funny enough, I now read an article he read, and he was saying that at some stage, Ramsey Noah nearly dropped him because he wasn't getting it. So for me, that just shows what a brilliant director Ramsey Noah was. He was saying that he had to take that particular scene so many times. Meanwhile, when we saw the final picture, it looked like something he just breezed through himself. And he wrote that, I nearly lost the role because of not getting this bit right. So for me at that time, I thought, wow, Ramsey Noah. And then I also think that for our own actors as well, I think that giving them scripts that, they're used to, we're not doing them any favors, We're not doing them any favors. You've cast them in a certain role, and that is the role they play every single time. No. You need to let grow, give them something different, see them in a different light, throw them in a completely different role,
There's a comment here. You guys keep your comment and your questions coming from Theo Alade. That's my brother, actually. He said, it's not that actors are not good. We need to know the difference between screen acting and stage acting.
Yes, would you agree? That's very true. I agree completely. Because there's some actors that I see on stage and they're perfect. But I've seen them in series and no, it just doesn't gel. But again, I'm not gonna name names because in Nigeria, if you do, it's like you're criticizing. Meanwhile, it's a good criticism. It's not. But imagine though that we have a lot going on stage. So as an actor that you don't get paid much, you can't really, depend on just stage. Wherever it's done all over the world, there's more work for them. So you can't keep your family just on stage, whereby there's a stage play maybe every Christmas. But thanks to Bola Austin Peters now, we have some more stage productions. But up until then, we just have maybe one stage production per year, and we don't have many theaters. So I can see why, and then actors who do both screen and stage very well, You're
breaking a little bit.
Okay.
1 second. So maybe if you just hold it still, the internet it's pausing. It's kind of, I can hear you.
Yeah.
But I can't see you.
Okay. Can you see me now?
No, it's still buffing. But I'll take some comments while you have a look at the internet. So maybe if we just keep it in one place. Sam said, when you mentioned about giving actors the same roles, the lover boy, the bad boy, it's the same old. It also seemed like producers just want to sell the movie, and so we keep using the same actors. Which can, I think I agree with that. And that can be said for Hollywood as well. Hollywood tend to use known actors and actresses in order for it to sell. That's usually their selling point.
Apparently, we're both frozen now.
Oh, really?
I don't know what's wrong with my internet. Let me see.
Can everyone hear me? If you can hear me, let me know.
My internet, apparently I'm frozen.
You're okay, we can hear you, but your image keeps coming in and out.
Okay, let me change my position, maybe.
Okay. That's getting better already.
Is it getting better already?
Yeah, so wherever you are, right there, perfect.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Yeah, so that's great. So we were talking about using the same actors. I think Hollywood does the same thing. They use certain stars because they know that they can break box office figures. Certain stars are known to get the crowd going or to get people bumped, to get the film sold. And sometimes, actually, if you don't have the right star, you might not have the right funding.
Yes, definitely. If you don't have the right star, you won't have the right funding. Yeah. But what I think is that which is what we intend to do now is to get one or two of those to be the main, but then get a lot of newbie upcoming artists. When I'm doing auditions now, I'm going to the schools of drama, as in the theatre departments of the universities, University of Ibadan, University of Lagos, Yaba Tech, because Bikiad Graham Douglas, she does this Beta Foundation, whereby it's like a book writing competition she does to encourage young writers. And the winners of those, she now puts up what they've written, the winners up in theatre, as in theatre plays. And she just did a couple of them, the last one, Jagbada, I don't know how to pronounce it, Jagbada. And it was brilliant. And a lot of the actors were from the University of Lagos theatre department. Wow. So definitely, they spoke well, they acted well, and I just thought, wow, that's my next point of call when I'm casting. I'm definitely doing that,
And when you're doing your productions, like in the UK and in America, the government has funding available for certain projects. Are there such initiatives in Nigeria or any agencies that help?
I think when you're promoting something, like, for example, we have some brands that would sponsor if you're promoting their products, but and I know that we have the Bank of Industry that gives fund. You can get funding at a lower interest, and then now the central bank is doing it through the banks. But I don't know and then I know that like I saw a production yesterday, Fishbone, which was, I think it was produced by the American embassy, or the it was something to do with producing fake drugs, and it was brilliant. Actually, it's on YouTube. It's called Fishbone with Shafi Bello on it. I think the American and I know the British Council as well often do that, but they're usually short productions. They're usually short stories. I don't know of any big blockbusters that have been sponsored by them. But like I see with perhaps maybe somewhere like South Africa. I mean, if you see via South African productions, a lot of times you see agencies that have sponsored, government agencies that have sponsored. And I'm often wondering, why can't we just do this, Why don't we have, we're really on our own. I mean, and maybe it's good to a certain extent because, like I was talking to my daughters the other day and my children the other day, and I was saying that the music industry, the reason why I believe the music industry has blown so much is because Wizkid or Davido or Burna Boy don't have to go to the Ministry of Information to ask for something. They're independent, And I think that whenever government is involved in any way in Nigeria, it just causes problems. So if I can produce without those agencies, for heaven's sake, I promise you I would go ahead, because there's always some government official that wants something. You see, it brings problems. But because the most they can do to Wizkid or Burna Boy, say, don't play it on the radio, and they're like, but they're out there. everywhere you go, you know, you go to Selfridges, you go on the street, you everywhere all over the world, you hear the music. We've just blown, and that's because of the, you know.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question before we talk about witches. Somebody asked the question, who is your favorite actor? So maybe we can say Hollywood scene and Nollywood scene. Who would you say are your favorite actors or actor?
I have too many in Hollywood. I mean, my go-to of all time, Robert De Niro. So many, so many. So many. I have so many actors. I love what's his name? The guy in oh gosh, I forget his name. But so many. More of, he was in The Wire. You know, the guy in The Wire. Did you watch The Wire, the series? In fact, all the guys in all the actors in The Wire are my favorite male actors. They were all brilliant, you know.
Okay.
For Nigeria, I would say not my favorite, but I think the most talented I've seen, funny enough, so far, but you don't see him often, is Gideon Okeke. Gideon is one of the people that I know that he's brilliant on stage, in theater, and he's brilliant in, you know, he's brilliant on screen as well, you know. As for my Nigerian.
Okay, we've got about 10 more minutes or less. So let's talk about Witches, the series. Yes. First of all, why the title Witches? It's like, ooh, and it's not horror.
You know, actually, the Witches, the title came from the fact that I have a group of friends. Yeah. I mean, we call ourselves the tribe. And, you know, whenever we get along and we're having fun, we call ourselves the Witches. So that was when I did, I mean, Witches is like a Sex and the City in a Lagos version of Sex and the City. Okay. About 3 friends and so I asked somebody, I said, what should I call it? And it's like, Witches, you know, what else? And also it comes from the fact that, you know, in our culture, once you're a woman, you're independent, you're not conforming so far, you know, you drink, you have fun, you're a witch.
Yeah, you're a rebel, you know? You're deviant.
You know?
Yeah.
So it was just so apt for what we were trying to achieve, you know.
Okay. So what's the story behind it? So 3 successful women living in Lagos City and day-to-day life?
And their day-to-day life, so basically it's based on 3 women, 3 friends.
Yeah.
So you have one. She's played by Bikia. She's independent, but she's dating a married guy, and you know her lifestyle is, I just need to be well looked after, you know. And then you have Oma. Oma she's just come back from the UK. And she's still very prim and proper and very, very, you know, judgmental, you know. Meanwhile, you know, she has a lot of her own faults, but she sees others. And then they have Kemi. Kemi is the more Nigerian, you know, has her mother who's all over, you know, the religious, the churchgoer. But at the same time, she gets along with these ones. So basically, it's how 3 of them, the synergy between all 3 of them, and even in Witches, you know, it's an advocacy thing because we talk about PMS, things that people don't usually talk about. The reason why some women act up, you just don't know that they're PMSing. We talk about exactly. We touch this Anchor Borrowers program, you know, that the CBN is doing. Not because we got any funding from central bank or anything. It was just something which I was involved in at that time of my life, and I thought it would be nice to put it out here to promote Nigeria, you know. So and Nigerian. So there's some episodes on that. So basically, it's even as it's like a comedy, and then it also talks about how we are women. When the man is cheating, instead of going after who you have a problem with, this woman who's chasing her husband's girlfriend all over town and making himself, those sort of issues, you find issues.
And when we can guarantee that it's definitely authentic to the Nigerian lifestyle.
Yes, it's very authentic to the Nigerian lifestyle.
So when can we see that? Anytime soon? It's in work in progress.
It's we're in post-production now, so hopefully it should be out for the summer. It's just but it's going to be streamed, so it'll be out there for everybody at the same time.
Fantastic. And then Las Giddy's Cup, is that available on YouTube?
Not yet. It's on Iroko TV.
Iroko TV online.
And then it's actually on some local. Yes, online is on Iroko TV.
Okay.
It's also, I know that it's shown in all the stations. It's shown on Rock TV. It's shown on Wazobia, I think. And it's shown everywhere now, yeah. But I think online is the best place to find it in Iroko TV.
All right, so for those guys, everyone who's listening in and everyone in the UK, Iroko TV, Rock TV is here in the UK. I don't know what channel that is on. And also Iroko, if you have Iroko, if you're subscribed to Iroko, check it out. So we've got like 5 minutes. I'm going to take some questions. If you have any questions, guys, drop it. Let me know. There was a question here that I saw from Sam's got the great questions, actually. He said, if you were asked hypothetically to put up an actor to rival a Denzel or Viola Davis, who would it be?
In Nigeria?
I guess so. So just a fun question, but who would you put against those two?
I would put Dakore against Viola Davis, or I would put... And against Denzel, I would put, like I said, I would put Gideon. He'd give him a good run for his money. Yeah. Also, I think DME Okolang would give him a run for his money too. Well, something.
There's a question here. What if, does a producer or executive producer get involved in directing? As far as I know, they don't. But in Nigeria, do they get involved in the directing process?
Oh, yes, they do, because I'm there on set with, no, that's not believable. Get it out. Because it's your money and you can't let it go, so we tend to, because, I think in other clients, I don't even know that they go on set, executive producers. But here, you have to, it's just like every business you do in Nigeria. If you're not there, then it's just going to go south.
Okay. And then, you mentioned, I love the fact that you mentioned that at MIP TV, we learned that what they're actually looking for is stories from individual countries. So authentic storylines, narratives that suit us. So what more can we do? What more? How can we put it to Nigerians that, we need to do more stories that are relatable?
Like I said, at the end of the day, like any other market, it's going to be forces of demand and supply. When more people create more content that are so authentic and telling our stories, and they find out that is what is preferred and bought, and they can put a price on it, or people are coming to make this an original, then people are gonna think. Look at the Oscars with Lionheart. They're like, you can't go in because there's not enough of your local language in it, and I think it's going to be the forces of demand and supply that will determine that at the end of the day. When they see that the demand is more for these, then people will tend to produce more of it.
Yeah. So with Netflix coming to Lagos and doing co-productions, I had this conversation with someone else who said that what they're doing is not necessarily investing. They're not necessarily investing in Nigeria. They're testing the market by doing co-productions, owning the IP, and kind of, running out. So how is it beneficial for us if Netflix? They're saying they're coming, but are they really there?
On that, I'm going to say no comment.
Because the whole point is, if you're going to be there, you should actually help it. I don't know. For me personally,
for Netflix originals all over the world, like Narcos and all these other productions, they're giving them $500,000 per episode to produce. Money's like that.
Wow.
And so why? And you're based in LA. You just have somebody in charge of that area. Why should Nigerians be different? Yeah. Why do they always price Africans differently?
Yeah.
Why? Why do you do that? It'll be interesting to know what the deal with Prince Sono was. The Netflix original. Was it just a co-production? Well, no.
Yeah.
It wasn't. They put a lot of money to partner with South Africans to produce Prince Sono. So why should Nigeria's story be different?
Yeah.
But when we take it, then they offer it to us. So I'm just going to say, that's all I'm saying on it.
Is there a union? Is there some sort of collaboration or a team of people that come together and say, this is the minimum we should demand or take if we're selling our content out? Or is it a case of individual basis? Everyone's just going and once it's on Netflix, I've arrived kind of post thing.
I think that's what's going on. There's not that I know of anyway. And unfortunately, we need to collaborate. This thing, there's enough for everybody. We need to collaborate, because if we don't collaborate, we can't have a standard. We need to collaborate and we need to fight together like that. But as long as somebody's gotten theirs on it, it's like, oh, I'm on Netflix. But I'm not impressed. There's an I'm on Netflix and there's I'm on Netflix. You know what I mean? I mean, I want Netflix to be able to come here and say, I'm doing an original production, putting the money you need into it and producing, giving you what you need and just supervising. But some will say they've done it in the past and people just took their monies and ran away. So again, our son rears his ugly head, so who do you blame?
Yeah.
You understand? So that's the problem.
Oh, man.
But I'm still open to collaborations, especially with big. Now I'm just concentrating on series because that's what I have enough money to do. But to actually do big productions, which I plan to do,
we've got 20 seconds remaining.
With collaboration. It's been lovely. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I see all of you all.
Fantastic. That was very informative for me. Thank you. 6 seconds.
I can't wait to see you again.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Someone says she struggles with maths.
Right.